what is our banner, obviously, that being the Chicago Bears. So yeah, it's all going wrong for Chicago. It feels like a little bit of a rickety start. You know, they won the first game 24-17 to the Titans, lost 19-13 to the Texans, then lost this Sunday to the Colts 21-16. There's been a lot of blame already getting shifting around, James. I mean, is this Matt Eberflus? Is it the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron? Is it Caleb Williams? Is he not living up to the hype? You know, there's been problems in Chicago for a while now. Is it just same old story for Chicago?
Yeah, yes and no. Obviously, it's really hard to blame a relatively new coaching staff and a new quarterback and a newly assembled, team, offensive line, receivers, running back. It feels like it's just not clicking. But if we start with Caleb Williams, for example, now I'm just going to go out and say I'm not the biggest Caleb Williams fan in general. There's just something about him that for me, I don't know. I know he seems to be a bit of a controversial figure. Some people really like him. Some people really are not so keen. And I don't know if it's like the things that we've seen from him in college, the sort of the behavior, the pouting on the sidelines, the nail painting and the sort of derogatory messages towards his opponents and not shaking hands with them after the games and stuff. And then declining to participate in the combine, including the medicals, which was a bit of a weird move. He seems like a guy who's very interested in his image rather than maybe his primary focus being on the game as a sort of rookie in the NFL. But if we put all that aside, he is capable. You can see in little flashes that there are things there. I sort of worry that in Chicago, he's only going to end up on the Trevor Lawrence trajectory, which is good in part, never fully realizes their potential. But there are contributing factors. The O-line issues are there. They've got Ryan Bates and swing tackle Larry Borum on IR. Nate Davis at right guard has not played well. And then they had another guy, Braxton Jones. It looks like he might have a knee issue. He went off against the Colts. And I've seen this week, more questions about should they sign David Bakhtiari to try and shore up the line to help Williams, which I actually don't think would be a bad idea. I know that he's a bit hit and miss in his availability. From 2001, one start, 2002, he had 11 starts, 2021, 2022, 2023, 11 and 1 start. It is dangerous, but they've already allowed 13 sacks over 3 games. And in 2022 and 11 starts, 597 total snaps, he only allowed 10 hurries. So it's just, would that experience be invaluable to a young quarterback at this stage? We talked about the coaches. Shane Waldron came in from Seattle to replace Luke Getsy, and he achieved great things with Geno Smith, and it looked like a good hire, but the offense still looks disjointed. I don't know. There are a lot of problems in Chicago, and I just don't really know, Johnny, where maybe they should be starting.
I think this game was, two teams with two quarterbacks who looked, I think, in terms of the way they play and the chaotic nature, I think, of their early NFL careers, sort of paints. Yeah, I think the Colts and the Bears are, finding their feet with their new quarterbacks, and it's going to take time. Unfortunately, I think these, obviously Anthony Richardson was very limited in college. We don't know how, we've not got a great amount of tape on him, but we know he's very erratic. And I feel this is, a similar sort of story for Caleb Williams, especially, on Saturday. I think, there was one play where I think it was around a 40-yard pass, and then I think maybe 2 yards later, he threw a terrible interception was it the first or the second quarter? Yeah, I think I'm not worried at all about Caleb Williams. I think, James has sort of highlighted the perhaps off the field issues which have been, quite highlighted quite heavily, I think, from perhaps jealous franchises or fans, and obviously the circus of NFL media during the off season, particularly for a number one overall player. This guy is obviously very, very what's the right word? Very confident in his own ability, and it obviously hasn't started the way he wanted. I think the offensive line is terrible, as we've said, and I think that is a huge concern. And the play calling from Shane Waldron, I think the defense is legit, and that's going to be that's going to help Williams, keep him in games, to give him the opportunity. But I certainly think the Bears aren't where a lot of people thought they would be. But I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily for 2024. A lot of people had them down as a potential dark horse to be a playoff team. I think if Caleb Williams can start and develop through some wins, build like the culture of the NFL. He's obviously very talented. I think that'll manifest itself, over the next couple of years. There are certainly some exciting pieces. Obviously Roma Dunze was brilliant at the weekend, and there's obviously all the talent around him. A lot of new faces, and that can be hard, to settle everything into once, right from the beginning. I don't know. I can see that Bears fans are getting really frustrated with the play calling, and have obviously they've built this roster up to give Caleb Williams the best opportunity to succeed in his first year. But I wonder now, have they really placed the development sort of traits in the right people's hands? Because there was question marks over Matt Eberflus, and Shane Waldron. I completely get what James is saying about his what he was able to achieve with Geno Smith, but I think from what I've seen, wasn't at the time the most recruitment that Bears fans really wanted. So I think it'll be a really difficult season, particularly the first half of the season, if they continue to lose games for the coaching staff. We know the Bears franchise has been has panicked in the past. I hope they don't. I think he'll be just fine. It's just going to be, I think, a little bit more of a frustrating year for Chicago.
I think that's what the problem is. It is the frustration, isn't it? It's saying, enough's enough. We had someone like Justin Fields who's performing admirably in Pittsburgh, and we just want to see the right development and the right things being followed through. We don't want another case where we have this very talented, uber talented quarterback and we just waste his potential. I really do love James's comparison there with Trevor Lawrence about can he hit them heights? Trevor, again, like Caleb, so much hype before the draft, obviously played phenomenally in college as well. It has never really hit the ceiling that was put over him by fans and media, etc. And it'll be interesting if Caleb can do that as well. But he needs help as well. The blame seems to be going to Caleb, but then you said the fans seem to be blaming the organization as well. It's not helped by the fact that the 22nd best offense. They're the 31st in the league in rushing yards, 218 yards. They're the worst in yard per offensive play at 3.7. Yes, they have got a good defense. They got the top 10 defense currently. But yeah, and James said about the sacks, 4 5 sacks, 13. They've got to protect him. But this problem was a 3-year ago problem. It was offensive line. We need to protect our quarterback better. We need to do that better. And it just feels that it's a merry-go-round sometimes in Chicago with the same problems that are happening. I have to admit, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the same thing for me in a way. Like, we had this merry-go-round of problems, and I always said offensive line and secondary, and now it's started to be sort of figured out. But it should have been figured out 3 or 4 years ago, not got to the point where it was dire and then improved. And that's what Chicago seems to have a problem with fixing, is They know the problem. They have a dire problem at offensive line. They have done for a while. They had a problem with their defense as well. They went out and built it, and they traded some good pieces away, but they brought in some pieces as well. So if they're going to give Caleb the best opportunity to succeed, it's got to be in them trenches. That's what the best teams in the NFL do, is do that heavy work in the trenches. So, yeah, they've got to figure something out. I love, James, your point about Dave Bakhtiari. I love that. I love that. I think do that tomorrow. That has got to be an option for you to go and do. I know even if he doesn't play all that much, just a learning curve for some of these offensive linemen within this team to learn from someone like Bakhtiari, who has massive experience within division for one, and within the NFL. So, I don't know what they're playing at. Maybe that could be a genuine idea that they can go and do and go out to the wire and go and grab him. Let's go from the deep dark cold of Chicago. We're not so cold just yet, Chicago. It's still cusp on the summer, I suppose. But we go from the cold